Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank my colleague from California for offering this amendment, which, like so many of the amendments that are being offered today, should not even be on our radar. Of course, 1,500 plus convicted criminals should also not have been pardoned on day one, simply because the president wants to whitewash what happened on January 6th. I actually am a new enough member. I was not here on January 6th, but I know that many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle were, and in fact, many spoke out against the president at that time, recognizing that he incited a mob to invade the Capitol in order to try to overturn a lawful election. And I say lawful very intentionally because notwithstanding all of the allegations being the important word here, there has never been any proof that the election was in any way fraudulent. So, of course, over the course of 4 years, the inflamer-in-chief decides that, oh, let's rewrite history, and on day one pardons 1,500 plus. But the worst part about that is that he pardoned about 500 convicted criminals who violently assaulted law enforcement, are fine men and women of the Capitol Police, the Metropolitan Police Department, who were simply here to defend the Capitol against violent insurrectionists, rioters, people who had tasers, who beat police officers, who caused heart attacks and strokes, who caused law enforcement officers to have significant surgeries and have to go ultimately on disability.
Will the gentleman yield for a question? Right here, Dan.
Yes. Swalwell.
Now, since any of these individuals were pardoned, these violent criminals were pardoned by the president, any chance that they reoffended? Any new reoffenses? And I'm just thinking of an Indiana incident where someone pulled a gun on a deputy, and thankfully the deputy shot and killed that individual. Has that happened?
Well, that's happened. Other crimes have happened.
Shocking.
By a number of these people. And
who would have guessed?
Who would have thought it? And especially when you have some of these convicted criminals who were convicted of seditious conspiracy, which is a charge so rarely brought that because of its heightened burden of proof and its heightened legal requirements, that you have to conspire to overthrow the government by force in order to be convicted of that. Now, you may say, oh, I'm sure it was some leftist judge that ultimately convicted him. Oh, no. It's our jury system. Our jury system where 12 individuals, 12 peers, unanimously had to vote to convict beyond a reasonable doubt. This is not a low standard. And yet, several were convicted of seditious conspiracy, but the president did not distinguish between any of them. Mr. Swalwell, I'd like to yield to you a question. If 1,500 people were convicted of violently invading the Capitol at the behest of Donald Trump, many of whom were acknowledged members of domestic violent extremist groups, is it more or less likely that they would answer the call for violence from a president who pardoned them than a president who had not pardoned them?
More likely, because those individuals would believe that they have a free pass, a green light, a permissive lane to commit violence because the dude that said what you did was okay, he's going to have your back again. And Dan and Mr. Goldman, do you think it's more likely that a guy who would pardon 1,500 people who committed violence in his name would also imprison 1,500 of his enemies?
Well, only if it's somebody who has already directed the Department of Justice to criminally investigate his political enemies for disagreeing with him. My time is up, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure Mr. Swalwell would like to take some more time so we can continue this colloquy.